It is Monday the 10th. Okay, this is the 10th of May. Everybody's tense. So, let's hope we survive this. You know, I've been watching millions of people, of course, watching what's going on in Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa Mosque and in Al-Aqsa, and the dispute over the holy sites for Muslims and Christians and Jew and every year about we see the same scenario, the same narrative. Israeli soldiers with their militarized gear, looks like from Star Wars, shooting at Palestinians with the old rocks, and it's like a movie from Star Wars. You know, the good and evil, smokes and so this time, you know, they really kind of symbolize what's been happening to the Palestinians for over 70 years. Displacements and mistreatment and demonizing them, and but the story of the Palestinians has not been told in this country, and so. We'll see how this is going to play out. You know, the Palestinians wants to, pray last Friday of Ramadan, and they're getting ready for Eid al-Fitr celebration, and the settler extremists, they want to march through the holy sites, commemorating the occupation and the stalling of that part of Jerusalem, or Jerusalem altogether, in 67. So that conflict's not go away, no matter how much El-Sisi and bin Salman and bin Zayed and bin Kalb try to talk about normalization and the rights of Israeli citizens and the rights of... Nobody talks about the rights of their own people, or the rights of the Palestinian. Of course, the Jew have the right to visit their, part of their holy sites, and they've been doing that for years. But it is more than that. It is really more than and Bin Nitin or Bin Yatin, whatever, of course, taking this as a political opportunity to kind of salvage his bankrupt government, and always talk about law and order. The most violator of law and order, the most extremist war criminal, they always talk about law and order. Also, Trump talks a lot about law and order. The most violators of law, they talk about law and order. But really, I was kind of reflecting on denying the Palestinian, the right to exercise their freedom of religion and pray in their second holy sites for Muslim, and what's happening here. And Muslims, for my 40 years in this country, I've never seen Muslim been denied praying anywhere. We always celebrated Eids, and celebrated everywhere, in churches, malls, and soccer fields, and football fields, and high schools, everywhere, sidewalk, parks, Riverside, convention center. We prayed there, and nobody stops us. Matter of fact, Mall of America becoming a sanctuary for a lot of Muslims before uh, the pandemic, of course, and thousands of Muslims will go there and celebrate the Eid with their families and rides and carry their tradition, not shopping bags, worshiping their gods and not that cultural icons of Calvin Klein and Liz and Nike and all those. So it's an amazing sight to see Mall of America during Eid celebration. A really amazing sight where the Muslim turned the biggest shopping mall of the world to a non-shopping mall. You know, even for just one day, it is an amazing scene, an amazing sight. I encourage you to go. I think the Eid is this Friday, and even with the pandemic, social distancing and government walls is kind of loosening things up a little bit. So you can go there and shout Happy Eid and Eid greeting from 12 feet to wherever and wearing masks. So it's going to be very interesting. Thousands of Muslims wearing masks marching to Mall of America. That will have the alert going to red. Be interesting to see the reaction there. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about mental health during the pandemic, and I know this is a huge issue. It's one of the biggest consequential things based on the pandemic. And it's not going to go away even if the virus is kind of slowing down, except in India now. But the cases going down, the death is going down tremendously. A lot of people been vaccinated, but mental health and the effect and the impact on our mental health, it is really very evidence and palpable and prevalence, and people don't talk about it. If you get a physical illness and, you can take pills, have a surgery, but mental illness, it is very tough or very hard to recognize, very easy to deny, and especially in the Somali community and other community. But today we're going to be talking about mental health in the Somali community. We're just reading some comments on social media, and our guest today raised a lot of concern about the mental health and kind of in the Somali community, and nobody is talking about it, and she wants to share her concern, and I invited her today to come and tell us a little bit about what's going on in the Somali community, why the mental health issue is prevalent, and how is it different than the society at large, because, it is not just in the Somali community, it's everywhere. And Somali music, God, beautiful.
Hello.
How are
How are you?
you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Here we go. That's Somali issue. Always issue. Always issue.
We always have a
Well,
technical issue.
always after. We're not. You say Ruqia?
Yes, Ruqia Abdi.
Ruqia. That's a very nice name. Ruqia.
Thank you.
Comes from what? Rock. Like above and beyond.
I think so. And I'm so proud if that is the case.
You're not gonna argue with me, huh?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know we kind of exchanged some messages, and I was kind of intrigued by your take on mental illness and aimed pandemic, and how prevalent it is in the Somali community. And you are Ruqia Abdi. She's a author. She is a public speaker, an educator. She works with the education department, consultant in library, Rich and Bridges. How prevalent mental illness in the Somali community. Why is it a major concern for you?
Thank you and so much for having me. It's an honor to be in your show. And
Oh, wow.
a real thank you and about that, because it takes a courage kind of to raise an awareness of some of the issues that's going on. And as you said, and I kind of share, and sometimes and people think like I'm angry because of I'm just posting things, but reality is I live it and in this country more than 20 years, and alhamdulillah I raised three and kids, and also and not only being a mother, but when you study and children, how they grow and how they learn and how you see your community, and you will feel the pain. It's like the more you know, the more you feel the pain, right? And I deal with a lot of Somali and parents, especially mothers, and the pandemic just made whatever issue we had bigger. It amplified.
Yes.
Right? Really, I'm so kind of grateful to learn so many community members that really thought that they were just community members, but they prove it that they are leaders. Because when crisis happen, you will see who's the real leader and who's the one-time show camera person. And sometimes you see people gathering and people in order just to advance their self to get elected, and that's it. It's like they hibernate. You don't see them other times. So I'm really so glad learning a lot of people reaching out. I am involved in the community. I'm involved in helping and mothers, as I said, and in our community. Yes, there is the and health and mental health is a big thing, and it's in every society. And there is no society that doesn't have issue that's health related. That is normal, right? But the difference that I have seen in my community is, first is we deny that it just exists. We deny it. And the reason, and right now I am speaking and up, is I see we're losing lives. It's not really funny and to kind of keep having the old mindset of providing service in the community. We are here and more than 2 decades, and we are not having a really and mental health service that is authentic. I will say authentic because, and you may see, and after right now, when I finish this interview, I may get and phone call is asking me, oh, let's open this center. Let's open this non-profit organization, which I am totally like, no. And let's come together and do something together, because I'm not talking about, when I talk about something, I'm not talking about one family, 2 families in Minneapolis. In Minnesota, although we are large and we're supposed to have, and it's funny that we don't have, sometimes we have something, but we are not really effective providing. I will give you one example. I deal with youth, as I told you, and family and mothers, and they tell me many issues that they are not able to tell other community members, especially when we have many male leaders, and it's a little bit and interpreted sometimes you're against male or a man when you're speaking, you're feminist, blah blah. It goes that in order to cover up so many things. There is a domestic issue that happens sometimes. Mothers, they will not bring that issue to a man because they will shy, or they will, it's a stigma. I hear so many things from that and area. Another thing is like the children are being raised mostly and mothers, right? And yes, there are some daddies, I really want to acknowledge there is out there some good and fathers, but when we're talking something, it's like when it's like more the majority, more youth right now are dying because of lack of mental health services. And my first time, I used to deal youth forever, but in 2020 when the pandemic started, and I was approached by uh, a friend, and she said to me, I'm not going to use names over here, and in case if I use, I and really apologize, but I will try not to use. But these are authentic stories that make me pain, not sleep. And I am not that kind of person that my children are okay or my child is okay. I'm not gonna be quiet because another child is not okay, because that child is a friend of my child, and I see them. So this person tells me, okay, we have an issue. I want you to meet this person immediately, because you know how to deal with youth and to talk to them. And this person is in suicidal. She wants to kill herself because she told her. And this person's parents are present. They're here, for example, in the Twin Cities. The first time, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist. The first time I went and sat down in front of this person with the another person that is in suicidal, I I cried over there. I wasn't supposed to do that because of what I didn't know where even to start, and except to like hug her. Although we had a mask, we sit down on in a park area, social distance it. But then you know what? I said I'm gonna hug this person first, and then, and what happened is like sometimes mistakes happen, and then it happens sometimes out of our control, and we as adults in the community take that into another way. For example, this person was an, like introduced to a person, and then was told like, oh, something happened. The end is this person had abortion, and then one person in the family knows. Then what happened is, and the person denied that that's you're not my wife, kind of, it was fake nikah. And then when I asked it her question is, and it was like a guilty
Fake,
feeling.
fake nikah means fake marriage.
Fake in marriage, yeah.
Okay.
And so, oh, I love you, and then and that this person got the wrong, I wouldn't say the wrong, it's just like a fake sheikh. This is the sheikh, and you're away, how, and sometimes nikah happens, we are, you're away from your parents, then it's valid. And then, and this person did abortion with a and a knowledge of some one family member, for example, the father is, and it's scary to tell in your father such a thing. It's very scary. So this person, and the mother told this youth that, you know what, read Quran and stay in your room, forget about, think, finish it, just move on, do your work. And this is not how things work. So this person had nightmares, couldn't sleep, and then the end, and contacted this person that, and she wants to take away her life. And then when I ask it, like, you can do this, you're young, you can, and 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 get a job and go back to school. And then she said, am I gonna go to hell? Kind of, it's inside feeling of guilty. So, and what I did is I tried to contact the local and leader, and to get a help and assistance. It wasn't successful because of the stigma that will be associated for this person talking to a person who did zina, right? And then, but this person is trying to take out and her life. And then what I did, you know what? there is such a national hotline, suicidal, blah, blah, look for. And I said, put the speaker, call this number, please. And she didn't want. I convinced her, we will just follow. It's okay in Islam to call and hotline, please call. And to my surprise, and they ask it ridiculous questions because they are not culturally trained. We need someone who is therapist, who knows this culture, not only parent culture, the kids. Kids who are growing up here are the majority who are impacted. So what happened is asking ridiculous question. Oh, now are you in a safe place? And do you want to go to a shelter? And this person needed a resource connection immediately. 40 minutes. Wait a minute. Okay, so what is the name of the person? Where were you that time? What did he ask you? All these things, and immediately she said, Habarier, auntie, I'm annoyed. I don't want to talk anymore. Okay, then we hung up the phone.
The hotline or whoever resources available to mainstream, their concern are a little bit different than what's going on in the Somali community.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
as somebody try to help and bridge that gap and leave, it must be very tough to play that. You like you dancing on a head of snakes here.
Yep, exactly. We really need a different approach to help and our and community. We're losing a lot of girls and using drugs. We're using a lot of boys using drugs, but dying in different form. Sometimes when you just see there is a problem, okay, just and we can keep on, this person is learning, getting, but sometimes acting up. But when death happens, you can't be quiet, and this can be like a major issue. We're losing generations, and what we are using is sometimes not the real solution. And I have seen so many research papers done by graduate students and community and data. But if the data is not really relevant and authentic, and it's a partial, it's not gonna be
And
helpful.
it's not also representative.
It's not representative, exactly. And every data is not representative. I learned that in a child development, where they say, oh, these children and are developing this way, and then we're gonna apply in here. I said, wait, these children are white, they were eating apples, these children are different, they were eating mangoes, and you're questioning or showing a child to name an apple and they have never seen an apple. It doesn't mean their brain is different. So even how the way we conduct the research and we apply is a little bit scary, and we need people and diversity over there. And now we need diversity within diversity. You understand what I mean? So and most of the time when I provide and trainings, cultural competence trainings to educators, I tell them, you wanna provide programming for youth, and you approach me, Ruqia, I want you to help us this, to shape this program. I can give you few ideas, but you can't take my all ideas and apply to the youth. We're not addressing it, and we're losing generation. We cannot be quiet. We need to speak up. Integrated service means sometimes we have a mindset, and which is like living in a cocoon. This is our own. We're gonna solve our own problem, right? And then that's not going to work. It may work for me, for the generation that came to this country, but who are we really losing are the youth, who are not parts of our culture, whether we believe it or not. It doesn't mean they are out of religion, but they're not in our culture. So some parents right now, I don't know if you had, there is something that's called daqan elis that they're using. So when
What
they,
what's that?
that means they want to teach the child their culture, right? And then what they do is, whenever they fed up a child, they just take them to a vacation. They say, we're going to a vacation. They take them back home to Africa, and
Right.
they give them a harsh life for years, like, okay, you didn't listen to me over there, you are acting up, now you need to listen to me, you will not have fun. So what happens is few years that child gets a trauma. Now the child comes back to the mainstream, and now what happens is we have a youth who's really confused. We didn't address that problem in the mainstream over here, and then they are not accepted in our culture, which
Of,
I don't know how it became their culture, which is my culture. For example, if I go back to home, that's my culture. Yes, it's original culture. It's good to go, it's good to visit when you want to, build your country or have idea, technological ideas, or all these things. But then I'm gonna punish you. Like, how can I do that as a parent? That's going back that we are not having a parenting education services inside over here. So that cocoon and a mindset is one thing. The other mindset is opportunistic mindset. That's the same thing that I said. Now there is a problem that's happening. People will form an non-profit organizations, because I have to be truthful. Really, we are tired about this. And then we will have some form of organization that's registered in the government, receiving grants in order to serve the youth. But when real thing happens, they don't know what to do. Like, right now, if you go to a university to learn mental health service, it's going to take a long time. There needs to be like smaller crash courses, and people who are dedicated, who are not opportunistic, who are not having opportunistic mindset, who are having a passion and a willpower to help those and save those youth. These youth, we are losing them. It's not like, okay, there is opportunity, let's make money. We need to stop. That is killing us, right? And the integrated service, the beauty is like we can have our own culture. We don't have to reinvent the wheel from the beginning. And one example is like, that's a kind of a very exemplary, is one of the local imams, Sharif Muhammad. And he's like chaplain, for example, which is not something we used to know before. But then and he works in the with the hospitals, and when people are very sick, and helping them listen Quran in the hospital and reading to them Quran. So that is like a something that we didn't reinvent. We can't say, I'm gonna build my own hospital in order to serve my people. There is already established hospital
yes.
that we can work with. And so that's one thing. But then who we are serving are adults again. We need the youth. And most of the time when we have meetings, we will talk about the youth. The youth are not over there. I don't know how we will get input and how we will have a real service. And another thing that I have seen is many graduate students are doing and research and papers that are mental health among Somali community, all these things. And then when I read, I said, really, is this like how we're ending our life? We're some of the people who really want it, who are from this mainstream country, they want to help, they will use that as a data, and it's totally like incomplete.
Yeah,
You know why?
skewed too.
Yeah, so the data is talking about Somali community, and then it says refugees, people who had trauma, and single mothers who are raising and children on their own, while the fathers of those children are sitting in Starbucks and roaming around to escape child custody money. And we need to be really truthful about this. And then we're using that data. Oh my God, recent immigrants, they need this, they need that. No, they're not recent immigrants. Majority are the kids who are either born here in very early age, or come very early age. They're born here. So that data is not even relevant. It's not helping, right? And we are using it. What do we need to use? We need to overcome the stigma. We need really to be mindful when we are providing services, and in our community, for God's sake, we need to cooperate and seek out. For example, there are other Muslims, for example, and there is only one Muslim that I found out, by the way, that's a therapist, and in the Twin Cities. There are other Muslims who came before us, right? And the living in a cocoon is not only away from the American or the white people, right? It's also getting away from the Arab people, getting away from the Daisy. And it's like there are a lot of people who are Muslims who had some services, for example, who overcome this and problem. We can have integrated services. We can take what they, what the successful stories that they use it, but because of we want just to do our own thing, it's really taking on a lot of a time that I don't know and when we're gonna come overcome. But I think this is like emergency in a state level, national level, correcting our how we respond to the national hotline, to how we provide and services and programming to the youth. We should really have a
About
different.
mental health in the Somali community and how prevalent it is, and how we deny that its existence, and that kind of exacerbates the problem and complicate it. You actually wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about what's the name of your book?
It's called Better Parenting, and a guide for Somali parents in the diaspora.
So this is specifically for parenting for Somali kids.
So, and what I did, and in the book is, and you will and see, and it's like I tailor it because of I wrote, not like I wanted to become an author. I never thought I'm gonna become an author, but I kept on writing down problems that I saw when parents come and tell me, and what I see, kind of reflecting, and then after learning, because I always love it, and working with children, enhancing their education. And then I said, I want to learn how their brain works so that I can provide the best possible education system. So what happened is, and I wrote down the book, and then I also have a background in Islamic studies. So I try to also add, because the culture like we have a culture also, sometimes we mix up with the religion, and and to help parents understand it, the way we raise it, and children, or we were raised back home, is totally different over here. And you look in Islam, for example, giving them example, for example, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he raised kids, and what the youth who grew up with and him said, what that youth said, for example, Anas bin Malik, for example, giving them context so that they understand where I'm coming from. So I give them, this is a totally different, and talk about my experience in school, and how I didn't want my child to go here, to go there, but then when I learned something, I and realize it. So that is the introduction kind of, and then I started introducing them the real deal, the developmental stages that we need to learn in order to deal with children. Because sometimes keep quiet, don't talk, all the things that we used to say over there, this is not going to open up their mind, right? And the reason most of the youth right now are not talking up and speaking up is because of the way we're raising home, and it's totally different, just like we're shutting them down, and then they cannot share anything and with us. So those developmental ages, the early and childhood, the middle childhood, the adolescence, and why are we having all these problems, talking about scientifically, and then concluding the importance of having a network. Because back home, and we used to and see extended families, uncles,
Yeah.
and aunties, grandma, grandfather. Over here we are isolated, we're trying to raise children our own, and then using the words and whatever technique we used to use. And we never went school to take a class about parenting. So I have to introduce a lot in order to attract parents, because it was difficult. You're gonna teach me how to be a parent? I'm already a parent. You know how tough it is. So I try to do that, and then and kind of teach them, this is when you are a youth or teen is acting up, for example, it doesn't mean this is from American culture. It means there are hormonal changes that are happening. No matter where they go, this is gonna happen. And this is the way to deal with. And we don't need to respond all the time. We don't need, but we need to take it seriously. This is a developmental issue that's happening. And if we shut down, this is gonna be really horrible. And and going back to the mental services, yes, and I'm gonna look into those, and other cultures, African and American, and the natives. And I work with many customers, and I hear many authors and their culture and how their approach is. But the twist that exists over here is, it's not only we as a Somali and community or a parent, we're not getting help over there. We need to educate. We need to have parenting education.
It's gonna, the strength of the Somali community and how they survive, regardless of where they go, is
Mhm.
poetry and
Yes.
woman, and but the role of woman and the role of mother in the Somali community is really what keeps this community going. When you try, dealing with all this problem, and and you as a mother and as a woman in Somali raise that concern about mental illness, and that's why I was very intrigued about why I get those from most likely from a Somali woman that raises those concerns than a Somali man. Am I reading too much into this?
And no, you're not reading too much into this. And then if we go like academically and real analysis of what happiness is, and for example, and whenever we get services, whenever we have to get grants from the government, mostly man has access, for example, to this, right? And then who's receiving the service? Mostly women, which is like, as I said, there is a family an issue that goes on sometimes. There is a health issue that's like women even can't discuss, even the in translation and interpretation services that we have here is sometimes women sometimes want to go to talk about and delaying parts, or using and part control. It's not going to happen when the translator becomes a man over there. So what's happening over here is the denial that we have. We're saying the victims are women, and yes, and more percentage are the young generation right now. That worries me, that are dying because of in the middle of not addressing, denying, and not caring. So those men, and I'm gonna say one thing that, and that may not be liked by some people. It's okay. The reality is, and for example, I came here with my husband and my children and my and one child, and I have three children. I live with my husband, and it doesn't mean everybody is like having for example, and functional and like family. So there is so many separation that happens, right? So many divorce that happens. And even in the religion, it's not advised that you need to abandon your children. You need to take care still, right? One of the things that I like child custody is like, that's real Islamic. You need to care your children no matter you have your wife or not. So those men, they were somebody back home, right? They were someone. They used to be the a leader of the house and everywhere. Now they came here. Women also can be a leader. That is also a crisis for them, to be honest.
Oh,
And
really?
they're not saying it, but they're having a problem with that. So that is part of also a mental illness. For example, what is wrong with the people dealing with mental health? And most of the mental health people are going to be women. Why not men? They killed somebody too. They are the ones also witnessed the problem. But saying, oh yes, I need mental health services is very difficult for Somali men. That's why the gatekeepers are our men, and we accept. But we are listening to them, but they are the ones who are also having a mental illness that need help. I'm serious. Like, you had a trauma, you had a refugee and life, and you came over here, and you went to university, you run to an office, you become elected official, or you went back home, you joined the government. Doesn't mean your trauma is over. You need to have a therapy.
You
You
need
need to
help.
have it. It's like inside, it's buried, and they're doing many things in order to compensate their lives. And this, even the harshness of behavior over here, it's like because they're missing something. Now they say something, the youth is not listening. The woman is not asking money as before because women are working, right? Which is not an haram or crazy, but it's like, okay, now they're feeling less power. So in order to have a power, they want to sit down there, just don't care. So that's what's happening. So here, holistic approach is something we need, but now the death is happening to the youth because it's more really major prevalent, because the men, whenever they feel something, they go to Starbucks. That's a stress relief, you know that. I wonder if, although it's bad that you're sitting in Starbucks, I wonder if there was no Starbucks, how much violence would have been at home. I'm serious.
I thought
it's,
we're
it's
gonna go and take Starbucks on
down.
trial. Well, this is you are guys.
Yeah, I know.
now
But
now you're telling me they are helping.
when you go to the other side, Starbucks is helping you drink that coffee, you talk about politics that has nothing to do with your child and your life here, just back home, that's a relief for them, it's like
Escaping, yeah.
escaping, yeah. So that
There is a name of that. When they see the Somali man sitting Starbucks from different fraction, and yeah, they have
yeah,
an
meaning they're fighting while they're sitting, exactly.
well,
So
oral fight, not
oral fight, yep, yeah,
what's
my tribe.
better than civil war or better
Of
than
course, yeah, it's
an,
better than civil war, but and we also need to address the neglection that's happening from the family. Your family needs you, and your wife, when you were and when you were talking to her to marry, you wanted her to to be with together. Now she's taking care of a lot of kids. It's
yeah.
not like and like for example, most of the Somali women marry early, right? And then they reach the age of maturity after having few kids, and they want to have life, they want to
Yeah.
then if your husband ends up in a Starbucks, and you will act up, right? You don't want that life.
Why
So
don't we just start going to Caribou
oh yeah, exactly. So it's like, where is a space for women? See
yeah,
that why there is
at home?
so much and stress on women is there is no scapegoat that women has, and this society, so many resources that we have. I hope the schools and the public libraries will create spaces for and those women, because and we need to have this, we need to and address the youth, and also marriage counseling, which we never even have it on
Well,
today.
I mean, society at large is facing almost the same problem, but their approach, they don't deny it, they deal with it, and
Oh yeah.
they have no resources. So, what do Somali men done in the last year where Starbucks mostly were closed?
So I think, and when Starbucks was closed, and it's maybe and coming home inside and not and knowing how to deal with your wife or your children, that escalated the problem, especially the youth.
Oh, so what do we now? We don't want them at home. We
But
don't want them at Starbucks. What do you want, Ruqia?
I really and first want and to kind of and pray for all my community and everyone who's going through this. Is a May is a mental health and a month, and the other thing is like we need to acknowledge this is a problem that's having, and the second thing is we need to have services, parent education, that we really need to ask, and any organization, any state and grant that's available to educate those parents that and this is okay, and uh, and to have and also teach those children life skills, not only go do a homework. No, most of the time we ask them to do homeworks. Do your homework. Although homework is better, but also life also is better. Talking to your children and having connection with your children is better, and changing our view, because that becomes under parenting and education, and like for example how we view and male and female, and keeping your daughter and all the time in the kitchen and burdening her, for example, because the older siblings mostly they have this burden of taking care in the siblings,
Yeah.
which is not bad, it's good to take care. However, and letting the boys, for example, roam around and do whatever they want, this is this is a reflection what's happening in the society, for example. And girls started and using drugs at home, so they die over there. And then the boys go out because they have the chance to go out, and if they start acting out, they just get kicked out because they didn't meet. So we need to change this mindset, and also really and have a an authentic services. Just ask the people who are really facing this problem what they need, and have sessions really. And we can have separate sessions for men and women, and family counseling and services. And sometimes, and we say something exists, but really, and like, it doesn't exist. I don't see it. We need to have for example, in the library, uh, we emphasize, for example, against the and like gatekeeping information, right? We need to make this thing available without any barrier. A woman needs to attend a class. She needs to have her husband or the child of this kid is to take care the children while she's taking that class. They don't go to the classes because they have to take care of these children.
I see. Yeah, it
That
is. Yeah, it is really a problem. Complicated and multi layers, and the socioeconomics, the economic pressure, and
yeah, the
now
racial and
exacerbated by the pandemic, and it really the pandemic kind of exposed all those problems that we used to just brush them
yeah.
under the rugs. And thank you so much for coming to us, and very courageous of you, Ruqia, to come and share this with us as an immigrant and as a mother and as a community leader. And we wish you luck. Always, the door is open for you here to come and share with us your story. And good luck. Good luck with what you're doing. It's a long, long, long
Yes.
struggle, and
Yes,
it's
we
not
will.
going.
We are all in this together, and thank you, sir, and so much for the opportunity to talk about this, and sharing with other people, and hope something and comes out of and challenge. We can turn challenges into opportunities, and especially this time.
Thank you, Ruqya. I mean, the Eid is probably this Friday. I mean, this Wednesday or Thursday. So,
Thursday.
what's your Eid? What's your Eid plan? You're gonna leave your husband and then just take your kids and go have some time at Mall of America?
Well, and that and decision is now on top of my kids. Mostly, I listen my kids, and we go together. We're kind of planning to go together because we also have my older daughter who will be graduating 3 days after Eid from University of Minnesota. So we have
Wow!
a, l-
Congratulations.
a lot. Thank you so much. We
What
have a
did you
lot going
study?
on, and developmental psychology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she can help you out.
Oh yeah. There is a lot similarities of
So, what was social distancing is still there, and I know Governor Wells loosened up the restriction and public activity. So, you still gonna go out and celebrate?
So we are planning to and look out spaces that prayer spaces that are outside, and still as a family, because this thing is really a tough decision. You
Yeah.
have to make it and your own. We are my family is a very strict, like in in each child, and I'm so glad about that we're taking care. And so we're looking for and to go out as a family and together. But then the prayer we're looking into anywhere that is outside of a mask
And
to open space. Yeah.
yeah, we prayed on the sidewalk, parks,
Yes.
stadium, anywhere they let us
Yes,
go.
anywhere that has fresh air, that's what we're looking for. And
Little
the
bit different.
celebration goes on.
Yeah, nothing will stop us. We need to
Yes.
go out. But
Yes.
that's a little bit different than what happened in Jerusalem now, where even Palestinians cannot go
Oh
to
yes.
their. That's a sad
Yeah.
contrast. Of
Unfortunately, yeah.
we,
And we
we,
are witnessing that too. It's
yeah,
that makes you sometimes slow down your life and be grateful what you have.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much,
Thank you
Ruqayya.
too.
Good luck and happy Eid. I've always enjoyed seeing the Somali community celebrating the Eid, and really nobody celebrates Eids like Somali communities,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
and